Well, now, welcome back to the deep dive, folks. I tell you what, it's a mighty fine day here in Overton County, and we've got something truly thought-provoking to unpack today. We appreciate a good foundational idea, something solid, and today, well, we're stretching our minds a fair bit, looking at a future that's got some fascinating implications. We're diving into a world where Bitcoin isn't just another thing on the news. Nah, it's imagined as the very bedrock of how everything operates.
Indeed. What we're exploring today is a deep dive into sources that paint this picture of what's often called a Bitcoin utopia. It's a truly intriguing thought experiment detailing a global society just utterly transformed. Every interaction, be it economic, social, or even political, in this vision, it revolves around Bitcoin's underlying technology, the blockchain. It's a world imagined without the usual regulatory oversight, without central authorities dictating monetary policy, and notably with a significant reduction in bureaucratic hurdles that, let's face it, often stifle innovation.
Yeah, red tape can sure slow things down.
Exactly. The sources suggest a profound paradigm shift where traditional governments, as they put it, have been eclipsed. Their coercive powers diminish as people simply opt into voluntary systems. It's a bold extrapolation of Bitcoin's core principles, really, scaled up to a global level.
Okay, wow. That's a big idea to wrap our heads around, ain't it? So our mission today, folks, is to dig into these sources and really try to understand what this Bitcoin utopia would actually look like. We'll cover, everything from how we earn our daily bread right here in Livingston or Jamestown to how our communities might be run. So get ready to stretch your understanding, because this ain't your grandpappy's economy, but, well, it maybe builds on some timeless principles of liberty and sound money he'd recognize. Let's start with what feels most tangible for many of us, our economy, our money. Here's where it gets really interesting, especially for anyone who's watched their hard-earned money, lose a bit of its buying power each year. It feels like it shrinks, don't it? Now imagine a world where your money, in this case your Bitcoin, isn't shrinking like a winter creek, but growing stronger every single day. Our sources present a future where deflation becomes the norm, driven by Bitcoin's ironclad protocol.
On a fixed supply.
Right. That capped supply of 21 million coins, rigidly enforced by unyielding code. No printing more out of thin air. What's truly fascinating is how this deflationary pressure changes human behavior. It's supposed to, anyway. It means your savings compound naturally, incentivizing long-term thinking over reckless consumption. Less buying stuff you don't need, maybe. Picture workers, say, right here in Overton County, negotiating salaries not in dollars that might be worth less next year, but in Satoshis. That's Bitcoin's smallest unit, like cents to a dollar, which would actually appreciate over time. So your paycheck today could buy more tomorrow. That's different.
Exactly. And this shift to a deflationary engine, as described in our sources, it fundamentally alters how economic activity unfolds across the globe. For instance, the crucial mining operations that secure the Bitcoin network, well, they proliferate everywhere, driven purely by market incentives, finding the cheapest power. The sources acknowledge that while the energy consumption for mining is massive, it becomes optimized in this utopia.
Optimized, how do you mean?
Well, inefficient miners, those using expensive or less clean energy, they'd simply be weeded out by market forces. It couldn't compete. This fierce competition would, surprisingly perhaps, lead to green innovations that turn waste heat into community resources. Think about heating entire cities, or maybe greenhouses right here, using the heat thrown off by mining rigs. So the very pursuit of cheap, stranded energy that's currently wasted or hard to transport, actually drives sustainability and finds productive uses for energy that would otherwise just dissipate.
Oh, now that's turning lemons into lemonade, ain't it? And when it comes to trade, imagine the possibilities. No more fussing with complicated exchange rates or those slow bank transfers when you're selling your handmade furniture from Sparta or maybe quilts from Gainsborough to folks clear across the world. The sources say trade evolves into a seamless, borderless symphony thanks to lightning-fast Layer 2 networks.
Right, like the Lightning Network.
Yeah, those things. For folks maybe not familiar, these Layer 2 networks are kind of like express lanes built on top of the main Bitcoin blockchain. They handle a huge volume of transactions much faster and cheaper. With these, we'd see fees near zero and settlements instantaneous. Boom, done. And we're talking smart contracts, these self-executing agreements written directly into code that would automate everything. Think about it. Escrow for deals, automatically released when conditions are met. Insurance payouts triggered by, say, weather data. Even automated dispute resolution via decentralized oracles that crowdsource truth.
Those oracles are key, bringing reliable real-world data onto the blockchain.
Exactly. So the contracts know what actually happened. It's described as a Darwinian economy, one that weeds out inefficiency, birthing breakthroughs across all fields, from, I don't know, space travel to longevity research, all funded by money as neutral as gravity. Just goes where the value is.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture of wealth distribution, the sources, they present a nuanced view. It's not all perfectly even. Initially, there's an acknowledgement that early adopters, those visionary hodlers who acquired Bitcoin way back when it was seen as just magic internet money, well, they'd likely emerge as a new aristocracy.
Sitting on a pile of digital gold.
Potentially, yes. Their holdings could be worth trillions in equivalent value. It's a profound shift in wealth. These individuals holding vast wealth in a stable, appreciating asset might then fund philanthropic empires or even seasteading nations, essentially creating new societies based on their accumulated capital. However, the sources don't suggest this inequality remains static forever. Bitcoin's extreme divisibility, down to that single Satoshi, allows for microtransactions, enabling the unbanked masses to participate in the global economy, so it broadens the base. Furthermore, over generations, wealth disperses through natural spending, maybe through inheritance taxes if communities vote them in, and critically, through charitable DAOs.
DAOs, right? Decentralized Autonomous Organizations.
Correct. Groups run by code, not by a board of directors. Participants vote on decisions, often with their Bitcoin stakes, enabling transparent redistribution via algorithms. It's a system designed, in theory, for dynamic change, not static power structures.
Okay, so that's the money side. Mighty interesting. But what does this all mean for how we live together, how we trust one another, and how we govern ourselves right here in places like Cookville or maybe down in Salina? This deep dive suggests society gets freer, more interconnected, yet fiercely individualistic. Kind of sounds like Tennessee already, huh? But instead of trusting big institutions, banks, governments, whatever, folks start to trust the code itself. The math, the mantra truly becomes, don't trust, verify. You check the blockchain yourself. And talk about privacy. The sources explain that advanced tools like zero-knowledge proofs would become commonplace.
Those are fascinating cryptographic tools.
Yeah. They let you prove something is true without revealing any of the underlying sensitive information, like proving you're over 21 without showing your driver's license or birth date. They'd allow transactions that reveal nothing but validity, just yes or no, it's good. Your digital wallet, they say, would become this sort of self-sovereign vault, holding your life savings, medical records, and identity unhackable without your private keys, which means you control your data, not some company or government agency.
And this raises an extremely important question. How would our communities, our towns, our daily lives function without the traditional governmental structures we've grown accustomed to? The sources describe cities morphing into crypto enclaves governed by these DAOs we just mentioned, decentralized organizations. In these DAOs, residents vote with their Bitcoin stakes on everything from road repairs to education curricula. Imagine folks here in Overton County deciding how to maintain Highway 111 or what specific lessons our children learn in school, all through a transparent, on-chain voting system where every vote is recorded and, crucially, verifiable by anyone.
Wow. Voting with your Bitcoin.
Even social safety nets would undergo a profound transformation, evolving into mutual aid protocols. Think of them as smart contracts that pool funds for disasters, say after a bad storm rolls through, dispersing based on verifiable needs via oracles rather than relying on government programs or handouts. It's a system envisioned to be built on shared responsibility and transparent automation.
Can you imagine the county commission just offering, like, subscriptions for their services? Or maybe premium citizenship perks? Bless their hearts, it'd certainly be a different world. Because, as these sources explain, traditional governments don't disappear, they atrophy. They wither on the vine, kinda. They become unable to print money or enforce taxes at scale because people can simply opt out and use Bitcoin, hold their own keys. Instead, governments might pivot to becoming service providers, funded by voluntary subscriptions for specific things. Maybe premium citizenship perks like diplomatic protection if you travel or access to certain public utilities if they still run them.
It flips the relationship, essentially. Government serving the citizen by choice.
Yeah. And here's a radical idea from the sources. Dictatorships, well, they crumble fastest. Because citizens can just defect to Bitcoin, starving oppressive regimes of revenue they can't print or confiscate easily when people hold their own keys. Political power would decentralize radically, with these DAOs maybe handling even global issues like climate change, incentivized by Bitcoin bounties for achieving specific, verifiable goals, and corruption. The sources suggest it would be minimal, as every decision is auditable on-chain. Every single transaction, every vote leaves a transparent record, accountability baked right in. Now hold on. Just like a calm pond here in the foothills can hide a few snapping turtles, this utopia, for all its promise, well, it's got its shadows too, right? Our sources don't sugarcoat it, which I appreciate. While we've talked about all the good stuff, there are some very real pressures and potential pitfalls. For example, the pressure of self-custody. Now, that's a big one. It means if you lose your private keys, that secret code to your wallet, you lose everything.
Everything. There's no recourse.
No bank to call, no forgot my password button, poof, gone. That's a heavy burden, a massive personal responsibility. The sources suggest it might even spawn a wellness industry around mnemonic training and hardware wallets just to help people manage their own digital security. Learn those C phrases. That's a lot of weight to bear, ensuring you don't lose access to your entire life's work, your savings, your identity documents, maybe.
Indeed, the responsibility is immense, and the sources also mention that volatility lingers as a shadow. Bitcoin's price can still swing wildly, particularly around the halvings, these pre-programmed events that happen approximately every 4 years, where the reward for Bitcoin miners is cut in half. Historically, these halvings can trigger temporary recessions or at least significant price adjustments as the supply of new Bitcoin tightens. It shakes things up. And while the transparency of the blockchain certainly helps catch folks, crime persists. It doesn't vanish. You still see scams and hacks, though the sources argue the ledger's transparency often exposes bad actors swiftly, making it harder for them to hide or launder illicit funds.
So crime just gets more sophisticated, maybe.
Perhaps. And there's also the risk of centralization creep. We talked about miners, well, large mining pools, groups of miners combining their power could potentially collude, maybe try to censor transactions or double spend. However, game theory is cited as a deterrent. The idea is that any collusion strong enough to damage the network would ultimately undermine the value of Bitcoin itself, harming the colluders financially. It's a built-in check, supposedly. And looking way, way down the road, there's the theoretical threat of quantum computing. Computers powerful enough to potentially break Bitcoin's current cryptography. If that became a real threat, the network would need to coordinate a massive upgrade, a fork to quantum-resistant algorithms to maintain its security. A huge undertaking.
Yeah. Okay. So when you zoom out and look at this whole picture, the good and the bad, it truly is a mirror of humanity's dual nature, as the sources so eloquently put it. Ain't that the truth? There's euphoria from empowerment, the potential for lifting billions from poverty by giving them access to sound money, real savings, a level playing field maybe. But there are also perils from unchecked freedom, like potential cyber wars between hacker syndicates or new forms of digital conflict we can't even imagine yet. Philosophically, Bitcoin is presented not as a fix to all our problems, not some magic wand, but as a catalyst, unleashing creative destruction on a civilizational scale. That's a powerful phrase. It's seen as a force that could lead toward post-scarcity, a world where basic needs are more easily met for everyone, and act as a great equalizer, rebalancing power and wealth in profound ways.
Which brings us back to a fundamental question, really. Are we as human beings truly ready for that kind of freedom? For the immense responsibility that comes with money that's truly free from central control, money that puts all the power and all the risk in our own hands. The ultimate outcome, as the sources suggest, whether it births heaven or hell, hinges not just on the technology, not on the code itself, but squarely on our ingenuity, our ethics, and our adaptability.
It's a profound challenge to humanity, isn't it? It asks us to reflect deeply on our own character, our commitment to our community, like here in Overton County, and our willingness to uphold sound principles in a world that could be radically reshaped by this technology.
It's a big question for us all, ain't it? Something to ponder on your porch swing tonight as the sun sets over the hills, for sure. Well, now, we've taken quite the journey today, haven't we? Diving deep into this vision, this possibility of a Bitcoin utopia. We've seen how it could potentially reshape our economy into an abundance engine, transform our social fabric with code-based trust, and even redefine traditional governments, making them more like service providers. And we've also acknowledged the shadows, the challenges, the snapping turtles that come with such radical freedom and responsibility. It's a lot to take in, isn't it? So what are you going to do with this knowledge, you good folks of Overton County and beyond listening today? This ain't just about money, folks. It's about understanding the deep currents of change shaping our world. It's about freedom, community, and standing tall with a clear vision for the future. Will you be a hodler of the future, understanding these shifts, asking the hard questions, preparing for what might come? or just going to watch the world pass by like a slow-moving cloud over Dale Hollow Lake? I encourage you. Dig deeper, ask questions, and think on these things. Ponder 'em. And hey, if this deep dive got your gears turning like a well-oiled tractor back on the farm, please consider giving us a like. Share your thoughts down in the comments below. Lord knows we'd sure love to hear 'em. What do you reckon? And subscribe so you don't miss another one of our explorations into these big ideas. We sure appreciate you tuning in.
Now, before we go, perhaps just a moment. Not a formal prayer, but a quiet hope, maybe. For all humanity, for wisdom in these rapidly changing times, for strength to face the future, whatever it holds, and for peace in every heart, no matter where you are. May we all find understanding and walk in the light.
Amen to that. And to all y'all listening from the deepest holler to the highest ridge, from Cookeville out to Monterey, and truly to everyone tuning in across the globe, we thank you. Stay curious, friends, and keep that spirit of inquiry alive. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.